Picture yourself sitting at your kitchen table, staring at a stack of bills, your bank account balance flashing a number that feels like a punch to the gut. Your mind races with worries. How will you cover rent, groceries, that unexpected car repair? You scroll through social media, bombarded by images of lavish vacations, designer clothes, and perfect lives, and a quiet voice whispers that you're falling behind. You feel trapped, not just by money, but by the pressure to keep up, to buy more, to prove your worth through things you can't afford. This financial anxiety, this sense of scarcity, is a heavy burden, stealing your peace and disconnecting you from the life you long to live. But what if richness isn't about how much you have in your wallet, but how much joy, purpose, and freedom you cultivate in your days? This is the Japanese secret to living rich on a tiny budget, a way of life rooted in minimalism, motenai, Wabi-Sabi, and other timeless philosophies that show you how to find abundance and simplicity. It's not about earning more or cutting corners. It's about rethinking what wealth means and crafting a life that feels full, meaningful, and deeply yours, no matter your bank balance. Let's explore how these principles can transform your relationship with money, your home, and your heart, helping you live richly on less. At the heart of this Japanese approach is a mindset that redefines wealth, drawing from philosophies like minimalism, which prioritizes quality over quantity, and motenai, a term that expresses regret for waste and respect for resources. Motenai, born from Japan's history of scarcity, urges you to value what you have. Every scrap of food, every worn item, every moment, using it fully and thoughtfully. Wabi-Sabi complements this by celebrating imperfection and transience, finding beauty in a patched sweater or a simple meal, because they carry stories of care and time. Danshari, the art of refusing, discarding, and separating from what doesn't serve you, helps you let go of unnecessary expenses and emotional attachments to material things. Kaizen, the practice of small, continuous improvements, ensures these changes are sustainable, even on a tight budget. Together, these ideas form a holistic way of living that sees richness not in possessions or status, but in presence, gratitude, and intention. In a world that equates wealth with excess, bigger homes, flashier cars, trendier gadgets, this philosophy is a quiet revolution. It asks, what if true wealth is having enough? What if living richly means living lightly, with a heart full of contentment and a life aligned with your values? Let's ground this in your reality. You're likely no stranger to financial stress. Maybe you're stretching every paycheck to cover essentials, feeling guilty for small treats like a coffee out. Perhaps you're tempted by sales, buying things you don't need to feel a fleeting sense of control, only to face regret when the credit card bill arrives. Social media amplifies this, showcasing lives that seem out of reach, feeding a cycle of comparison and want. Your home might be cluttered with impulse buys or items you keep just in case, adding to your stress and draining your budget on maintenance or replacements. Your mind is cluttered too, with worries about money, pressure to keep up, and a vague sense that happiness is tied to what you can afford. This cycle of scarcity, financial, emotional, mental, leaves you feeling trapped, disconnected, and unfulfilled. The Japanese approach offers a way out, not by promising more money, but by showing you how to live richly with what you have, creating abundance through simplicity, mindfulness, and intention. What does living rich on a tiny budget look like in practice? It's about making intentional choices that maximize value, financially, emotionally, and spiritually, while minimizing waste. In your home, it means curating your possessions to include only what you use or love, inspired by minimalism. Instead of a kitchen stuffed with gadgets, you keep a few versatile tools, a good knife, a sturdy pot, and use them creatively, saving money and space. In your budget, it's applying motenai by stretching resources, repurposing leftovers into new meals, mending clothes instead of replacing them, or borrowing books from the library instead of buying. In your daily life, it's embracing Wabi-Sabi by finding joy in simple, imperfect moments. A homemade dinner, a walk in the park, a patched quilt. Danshari helps you refuse unnecessary expenses, like subscriptions you don't use, and discard the pressure to keep up with trends. Kaizen ensures you build these habits gradually, making small tweaks, like brewing coffee at home, that add up to big savings and a clearer mind. The result is a life that feels abundant, not because you have more money, but because you have more freedom, clarity, and joy. The benefits of this approach are profound, touching every aspect of your life. Financially, living minimally saves money. By refusing impulse buys, prioritizing quality, and valuing what you own, you reduce expenses, ease debt, and build savings, even on a tiny budget. Physically, a decluttered home is easier to maintain, fewer things to clean, repair, or replace, creating a sanctuary that soothes rather than stresses. Mentally, simplicity reduces anxiety. Studies show that a clutter-free environment and fewer financial worries lower cortisol levels, improving focus and decision-making. Emotionally, this approach fosters gratitude and contentment. When you cherish a single, well-worn mug over a cabinet full of unused ones, you find joy in what's yours. Spiritually, it aligns with Ikigai's pursuit of purpose, helping you focus on what brings meaning. Time with loved ones, creative pursuits, or quiet reflection, without the burden of material excess. Environmentally, living with less supports sustainability by reducing waste and consumption, honoring the Earth's resources. These benefits weave together, creating a life that feels rich, balanced, and deeply fulfilling, regardless of your income. Contrast this with the habits many of us fall into. Consumerism drives us to spend beyond our means, chasing happiness through things, a new phone, a trendy outfit, only to find the thrill fades, leaving debt and clutter. You might buy cheap items to save money, but they break quickly, costing more in replacements. You might fill your home with stuff to feel secure, only to feel overwhelmed by the mess. Social media fuels this cycle, showcasing lives that seem perfect, urging you to spend to keep up. Your budget stretches thin, your mind fills with stress, and your heart aches for something deeper. The irony is that the more you buy, the less rich you feel, as possessions demand your time, money, and energy, tethering you to a life of scarcity. The Japanese approach flips this script. It's not about deprivation, but discernment. Choosing what adds value, refusing what doesn't, and finding abundance in simplicity. Let's paint a picture of this in your life. Imagine starting your day with a homemade coffee, brewed in a single, cherished pot. The savings from skipping the cafe adding up quietly. Your kitchen is sparse but functional, with a few quality tools that make cooking a joy, not a chore. You wear a small wardrobe of versatile, durable clothes, each piece chosen with care, freeing you from the stress of endless laundry or trend chasing. Your budget is lean but intentional. You've canceled unused subscriptions, shop secondhand, and repurpose leftovers into creative meals, feeling proud of your resourcefulness. Your home is uncluttered, with empty spaces that invite calm, and a few imperfect treasures, a patched blanket, a hand-me-down chair, that spark joy. Your evenings are spent on free pleasures, a library book, a walk with a friend, filling your heart without emptying your wallet. Your mind is clear, unburdened by financial stress or comparison, focused on what matters: connection, creativity, presence. This is living rich, not because you have more money, but because you have more life. To bring these principles into your life, start with these practical steps, rooted in Japanese wisdom. First, practice motenai by valuing what you have. Take inventory of your kitchen. Use up pantry staples before buying more. Repurpose leftovers into soups or stir-fries, and mend torn clothes with simple stitches. This saves money and fosters gratitude. Second, embrace minimalism by decluttering one area, your wardrobe, for example. Keep only what fits, flatters, and feels like you, donating the rest with thanks, inspired by Danshari. Third, prioritize quality over quantity. Next time you need something, like a winter coat, save for one durable, timeless piece instead of multiple cheap ones, aligning with Motenai's respect for resources. Fourth, practice Wabi-Sabi by cherishing imperfection. Keep a chipped mug or a worn book because it holds memories, reducing the urge to spend on perfect replacements. Fifth, use Kaizen to make small budget tweaks daily. Skip one takeout meal, walk instead of driving, cancel one subscription, watching savings grow without feeling deprived. Sixth, refuse unnecessary expenses with Danshari's principle of Dan. Review your budget and cut one non-essential, like a streaming service you rarely use, redirecting the funds to something meaningful, like a savings goal or a special experience. Seventh, simplify your social life to save money and energy. Instead of costly outings, host a potluck or meet friends for a free activity like a hike, fostering connection without spending. Eighth, cultivate gratitude daily. Inspired by Wabi-Sabi. Each morning, note 3 things you're thankful for: a warm bed, a kind neighbor, a sunny day, shifting your focus from scarcity to abundance. Ninth, create a no-spend ritual, 1 day a week. Spend nothing, using what you have. Cook from your pantry. Enjoy free hobbies like journaling or walking, reinforcing Motenai's value of resourcefulness. 10th, Align your spending with Ikigai by investing in what brings purpose. If art sparks joy, save for a small set of quality supplies instead of scattering your budget on fleeting purchases. These steps, small and intentional, build a rich life on a tiny budget, creating space for joy and freedom. Challenges will arise, and that's okay. You might feel deprived when refusing purchases or social outings. Start small. Skip one small expense, like a snack, and savor a free alternative, like tea at home. Social pressure to spend or keep up can be strong. Communicate your values kindly. I'm focusing on simplicity to feel freer, and suggest low-cost ways to connect. Limited income can make quality purchases feel impossible. Focus on free or low-cost wins, library resources, secondhand finds, or repairing what you own. Time scarcity might make these habits feel daunting. Use Kaizen's small steps, 1 minute of budgeting, one item repurposed, to make progress without stress. If comparison creeps in, curate your social media to include voices that inspire simplicity, not excess. Be patient. These habits are a journey, and every step toward intentional living is a step toward richness. These principles weave beautifully with other Japanese philosophies. Wabi-Sabi fosters gratitude for what's imperfect, easing the pressure to spend on flawless things. Matanai encourages resourcefulness, saving money, and reducing waste. Danshari empowers you to let go of financial guilt or societal expectations, freeing your heart and budget. Ikigai aligns your spending with purpose, prioritizing what brings joy. Kaizen ensures lasting change through small, consistent actions. Together, they create a holistic approach to living, one that values simplicity, presence, and meaning over material wealth. Let's deepen this with more practices. Try a Matenai meal challenge. Once a week, create a dish using only what's in your pantry, savoring the creativity and savings. Another practice is a budget gratitude journal. Each evening, write down one way you saved money, a homemade lunch, a mended shirt, and how it made you feel, reinforcing abundance. To cultivate Danshari, do a spending audit. List your last 10 purchases and mark which ones truly added value. Refuse similar low-value buys going forward. For Wabi-Sabi, create a treasure shelf with a few imperfect items, a cracked bowl, a faded photo that tell your story, reminding you that richness lies in meaning, not perfection. These exercises, flexible and personal, make simplicity a sustainable part of your life. Let's ground this in a story. Meet Hana, a 30-year-old barista struggling on a tight budget. Her small apartment was cluttered with cheap buys, her bank account drained by impulse purchases, and her heart heavy with financial stress. One day, a coworker shared a podcast on Japanese minimalism, introducing Hana to Motainai and Wabi-Sabi. She started small, decluttering her kitchen and keeping only a few quality tools, cooking creative meals from pantry staples. She mended her favorite jeans, embracing their patches, and canceled unused subscriptions, saving $20 a month. She began hosting friends for game nights instead of pricey dinners, deepening connections without spending. She practiced gratitude, noting 3 things daily: a warm shower, a kind customer, a quiet evening that made her feel rich. Monthly, she reviewed her budget, refusing one unnecessary expense. Over time, Hannah's home became a haven. Her finances stabilized, and her heart felt full. Simplicity didn't increase her income, but it transformed her life, making her rich in joy and purpose. As you embrace this approach, envision the life you're building. A home where every item serves you or sparks joy, where simplicity invites peace. A budget that supports your dreams, not your stresses, with savings growing quietly. A heart free of comparison, filled with gratitude for the present. This Japanese secret isn't about having more money. It's about needing less, valuing more, and living richly with what you have. It's a rebellion against consumerism's empty promises, a reclaiming of your freedom, your purpose, your joy. You don't need a bigger paycheck, a flashier life, or a perfect budget. You need only to embrace simplicity and let abundance flow. So, begin today. Right now, choose one practice. Repurpose a meal. Refuse a small expense. Name a gratitude. And take one step. Carry this question forward. What can I simplify to feel richer today? Ask it when you spend, plan, or reflect. Trust that each intentional choice is a step toward freedom, a brick in the foundation of a life that's rich in meaning, not money. You're not just saving, you're crafting a life of peace, purpose, and joy. Welcome to the Japanese secret to living rich, to living rich, to living rich.